The January 6th committee is asking to speak to former President Trump's daughter and top advisor Ivanka Trump. Seen here backstage at the rally outside the White House shortly before the attack on the Capitol. In his speech at that rally, Trump repeatedly called on Vice President Pence to use his position presiding over the counting of electoral votes to overturn the elections.
And I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so.
The committee says Ivanka Trump was in the Oval Office that morning when her father had a heated phone conversation with Pence. I spoke to Trump about that call for my book, Betrayal.
There was a report, and excuse my language, not mine, it was in the report, that you talked to him that morning and you said you could be a patriot or you can be a... Did you really say that, or is that an incorrect...
I wouldn't dispute it.
Really?
I wouldn't dispute it.
Also in the room at that time, Trump loyalist retired General Keith Kellogg, who told the committee Ivanka Trump turned to him and said, quote, "Mike Pence is a good man." Kellogg testified that when Trump supporters attacked the Capitol, Ivanka Trump repeatedly urged her father to speak out.
We have firsthand testimony that his daughter Ivanka went in at least twice to ask him to please stop this violence.
Today, a spokesperson for Ivanka Trump declined to say whether she would testify, instead referring to a portion of a tweet she posted on January 6th during the riot, saying, quote, "Any security breach or disrespect to our law enforcement is unacceptable. The violence must stop immediately. Please be peaceful." What her spokesperson didn't mention is that in that same tweet, Ivanka Trump addressed the rioters as, quote, "American patriots."
That is pretty much standard practice as far as escaping from truths that are inconvenient or uncomfortable. So this is like the classic he said peaceful, right? So the basic idea is if you are super partisan, then you look at this like a team sport. So the criminals who violently attacked those police officers, putting 140 of them in the hospital, if they share your ideology, if they support the president that you voted for, then you see them as your team. So even though what they did was despicable, you are going to prioritize your affiliation with the ideology that is shared with these people over the truth. So what you'll do is focus on things that distract and deflect from how bad things were on January 6th. So for example, with Trump, you ignore everything else, and you focus on, he said peaceful, Ray Epps, the one Black Lives Matter guy that was recording there, the fact that the FBI looked shady, that one shot of police looking like they were letting people in, every single item that allows you to diminish the severity of what happened on January 6th. These are things that you will know a lot about and focus a lot about, talk a lot about, share on your social media. But every single thing that does the opposite, you will ignore, be unaware of. So the right-wing media, being that their job is to manipulate the Republican voters into staying with the party, right? As long as they can keep you more afraid of socialism of the Democrats, then you're going to keep voting for corrupt Republicans. That's the scam. Same thing with the Democrats. As long as they can keep you more afraid of the other party, they don't have to do anything, because come election time, even look at now. Right now, Biden's ratings are low, things are pretty bad. Listen, come election time, people are going to have to make a decision whether they want to risk the other team being in power or they want to stick with Biden. Now, I don't think enough are going to stick with Biden for him to win. He's certainly going to lose, but it's probably going to be a close election like it usually is, which means the Democrats win. As long as they don't lose by too much of a margin, they win. That means AOC gets to keep her job. All these blue state, deep blue state politicians' legacy, establishment politicians. I'm not saying AOC's legacy, but people in deep blue states, as long as they keep their positions, they're making the money, they keep doing their insider trading, they're golden. And then when Republicans are in power, they ain't got to do any work, right? So they win, right? Enough people will still show up to vote for Democrats as long as they can keep their voters more afraid of the other team. That is what the purpose of right-wing media is, beyond the profits, of course, is to be the marketing team for the corrupt Republican Party. How do you do that? You focus on, well, in this case, right? How do you deal with that in this case with January 6th? You focus on every single element that whitewashes and diminishes and deflects away from how bad things were, because the Republican voters are, the very partisan ones, the ones who are always going to keep voting. They're going to have this partisan nature of team sport. So they don't want to hear the truth. So you're better off not reporting on January 6th at all. And if you do, you only focus on all these points that you can use to diminish it. And like, oh, it was Antifa, oh, it was FBI. So you have the daughter of the President of the United States implicated in this major breaking story. And you go to right-wing media, Newsmax, and you don't see anything. Blaze TV. All you see them talking about is the left and the liberals, right? That's all anti-liberal. That's what they do. Left and the liberals, right? Trump losing in the Supreme Court. Major losses for Trump in the Supreme Court. This is additional stories not being covered by right-wing media. All they're doing is feeding these Republican voters with the stuff that they can emotionally react to. Oh, look at the Democrats and socialists and they're ruining the country, whatever. All to make sure that come election day, you will show up like you always do and vote for a corrupt Republican who's not going to do anything for you, really, to make your life better, other than the one thing that they will deliver on this time around, which is rejecting the mandates. So Brandon Tatum, nothing to say, nothing to say. So basically the January 6th investigation has been progressing. And right-wing media, as usual, has been hiding. Now, when there's an ultimate resolution to this, which is probably going to be the Republicans taking power after the midterm elections and then shutting this whole thing down, then you're going to see right-wing media probably jumping in and saying, see, it was nothing, because they're going to shut everything down, right? And they're going to spin things and be like, oh, well, there's nothing to see here, blah, blah, blah. They're going to say whatever they want to say, right? To act as if nothing happened. And then right-wing media is just going to simply repeat what these corrupt politicians say. They're not going to be critical of it. They're not going to look into it and see if it's true, whatever. Whatever the Republican Party says, these mouthpieces are just going to simply repeat it to the voters to keep you guys in line. So come 2024, you can elect Governor DeSantis to be President of the United States and give even more power to the corrupt Republican Party. You can see here, Noel, he's talking about Biden. Look at that. Look at the thumbnail with explosions behind and Biden's laughing. It's all the same stuff. Anti-liberal. Ruben Report talking about Pelosi, Biden, whatever. Nothing about what's happening with the January 6th investigation. Why? Because there's no new breaking stories right now that can be used to diminish it. If there was something to diminish it, another Ray Epps. Oh, did you hear about this guy, Jeffrey Lincoln? He was a Black Lives Matter guy, and he was wearing a Trump shirt. Everybody's going to make like 3 videos. This is how the game is played. So regardless of what your ideology is, you could support Trump. You could be a conservative. And that's fine, right? Everybody's entitled to your own opinion, your own beliefs. But just know the truth that you're being scammed, right? The Republican Party is lying to you. They're fraudulent. They're dirty. And right-wing media, these guys are nothing but a bunch of liars that basically are working for the corrupt Republican Party, right? So the two can be true. You can like Trump. You can be a conservative. You can want the Republicans to get back in power because they are the ones closely aligned with your ideology. On the same token, you can realize that these guys are nothing but a bunch of scam artists. They're frauds. They're liars. They're on some bullshit, right? You don't have to accept these liars and frauds just because you're a conservative and you like Trump, right? You can like Trump. You can like the Republican Party. And you can reject that these bullshitters are bullshitting, right? You can say, man, you know what? Ben Shapiro is really a liar, right? He's a liar of omission. He's not reporting reality, right? He's reporting on things that are convenient to a narrative that he's trying to sell. But I appreciate what he's doing because what he's doing is helping the party that I favor be in power, and I like that. But I'm going to be honest about it. I'm going to be honest about the fact that Ben Shapiro cannot be trusted. He's dishonest, and he's working for the Republican Party. Essentially, I can be honest and accept that that is the case, but I can also be honest and say, well, you know what? What he's doing is dishonest, but it's helping me out because I want the Republican Party being back in power, right? We can just be grown, right? We can be grown and we can live in reality, accept accountability, accept what's really going on. We don't have to play games, right? We don't have to play games and act like these people are noble and they're just trying to, expose the truth and da-da-da-da. Bullshit. They are part of the corrupt American media system. Most corrupt part being the independent media, the partisan independent media, the most corrupt part of our media. And that's what Crowder and Shapiro, they are all part of this toxic business model of I don't care what my actions are doing to the country. I don't care what my actions are doing to my viewers. All I care about is getting those views, those clicks, and that money. That's the only thing that matters to me. If I got to mislead my audience by reporting on certain things and not reporting on others, and then playing games of, the left-wing media, they report on it everything, every day they're reporting on January 6th. Why do I need to report on January? Just stop with the bullshit, right? We all know that typical liberal media, they are not to be trusted. There's a lot of sloppy reporting, a lot of dishonest reporting. So why would it be logical for you to say it makes sense for me not to report on January 6th actively as these things are coming out because left-wing media is already doing that? But if you've already said that they're dishonest and not telling the truth, why wouldn't you want to be a source of accurate information regarding the investigation? Right? When you hear Trump losing in the Supreme Court, okay, report on it and break it down about how it's wrong and the Supreme Court failed. Like, why ignore it? There's no reason to ignore it. It doesn't make sense to allow your audience to have to rely on people that you say are dishonest. And I agree they're dishonest. We both agree they're dishonest. So why would you force your audience to rely on dishonest CNN and MSNBC to tell them about January 6th Commission and what's happening with Trump right now and these charges that are, all this stuff? Like, why would you force your audience to rely on them? Right, you're supposed to be like this is the way they present themselves. Like they're the ones telling the truth, and they're the ones who have integrity, and it's dishonest liberal media that keeps lying or whatever. Okay, well, give us an honest take about what's happening. Don't pretend it's not happening. Don't ignore it. Don't suppress it. Talk about what's happening right now, not just the stuff that helps the Republican Party. Right? What does the Republican Party want right now? To bash the Democratic Party and the left. Oh, they're crazy, whatever. That's what helps them. Why is it by coincidence this seems to dominate in terms of what right-wing media is doing? Why does it right-wing media just so happens to do exactly what the Republican Party would like in terms of helping them to win elections? Is that a coincidence? Do we really think that's a coincidence? What do we really think is happening here? Why is it that you could literally use the average video of right-wing channels as negative ads for the Republican Party? Why is it that you can literally just take an average video from a typical right-wing media channel and you can just promote it and use it as a negative ad, negative campaign ad? Why is it that's just by coincidence? And the same thing in reverse, right? Why is it just so happens that you could use a typical video from left-wing media, or we're talking about more centrist media, to be honest, right? CNN, MSNBC. Right? Why is it that we could use a typical video from CNN, MSNBC as a negative ad against the Republican Party? Is this coincidence? Coincidence that an overwhelming majority of the stories reported by these liberal media channels and these conservative media channels could be used by the party that aligns with their politics as negative ads? And there's hardly any exception. You could just randomly pick a video from David Pakman's channel and use it as a negative ad against the Republican Party. You could randomly pick a video from Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder's channel and use it as a negative ad to attack the Democrats and help Republicans win elections. Why? That's coincidence. That's what you think. I got a bridge to sell you.
All right, so let's bring in John Carl live from Washington tonight. And John, of course, there's a big new development in Georgia as well. You're following the prosecutor there asking a judge now to convene a special grand jury after the election to investigate former President Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 results there. The former president, as we remember, had pressured the Secretary of State in Georgia, telling him, I just want to find 11,780 votes. What does this request for a special grand jury mean?
Well, this special grand jury, David, gives prosecutors in Georgia a powerful new tool in their criminal investigation into Trump's efforts to overturn the election results in that state. It enables them to issue subpoenas to compel the testimony of witnesses who until now have refused to cooperate voluntarily.